Today I am going to explain about graph neural network. Before going to explain about graph neural network, this is not a graph convolutional neural networks. I will that explain later. This slide only covers concept of graph neural networks. What is the graph neural network? Graph neural network is also understanding of the connection between many relations. You also know recurrent neural network that has single recursive relationship between each cell. In graph neural network has structured data types, node and edges. Nodes mean vertices and edges are links. There are many type of many links and nodes in the graph neural network. When we use graph neural network can find everywhere. So for example, chemical network and biological network, social network, web network. You can see graph as everywhere, like a Facebook network, like molecule and atoms, like that. This is the basic concept of the graph neural network. For example, you have set of molecules data. You need to identify the that molecule is drugs or not. So you have some kind of functions, and you feed into the graph of the molecule of that function. Then output is the label, like probability the drugs or not, right? Before going to graph neural networks, what is the recurrent neural network? In recurrent neural network, in each cell has cumulative information from the previous cell. Each cell getting the cumulative information from the previous cell. So for example, word order, time series, event sequence. The popular example of the Google search. If you type the sentences that suggest next sentences, like that. In graph neural network, there's many links with the nodes. So you can define many type of adjacency matrix in the graph neural network. So each nodes are links in different ways, like that. In graph neural network can be directed or undirected and weighted. In undirected graph neural network, for example, Facebook request. If you send the request to the friend, then that friend accepted, then you they become a friends, like that. That's mean you can see friends things, and also friend can see your things. In directed graph, especially define the directions. For example, Twitter. If you following some people in Twitter, that does not mean that people follow you, like that. In weighted graph, define weight to the each edges, like f and b has c 4.0 and f and g has 12.0. That in weighted graph, put in the weighted in each edges. How to convert graph in a format that computer can accept? For example, incident matrix. We can define a incident matrix is a size of n by m matrix where the n number of nodes and m is the edges of the graph. For example, undirected graph, 1, 2, 3, 4 are nodes, e1, e2, e3, e4 are edges. So you can define nodes as columns and edges as the rows. For example, one has one E1 connected to the E1 connected to one node, and E2 connected to one node, and E3 are connected to the one node. So we define as one and E4 not connected to the 1, so we define as 0. So others are same in this way. In directed graph, we can define incident matrix if directions E1 directions is to the 1 and E2 so we define as the -1 as, and also E2 directions out of the 1, so we define 1 as. If directions is out of the that node, we define 1 as, and directions is to the that node, so we define as the -1, so otherwise 0, like that. So other type is adjacency matrix. So adjacency matrix is connections matrix, is a square matrix. The component of the matrix is 0 or 1 depend on the whether nodes of the graph adjacent or not. For example, you can see undirected graph A and C, A and B, C, D, E, R, E, F are adjacents. So that defined as the 1. So G is not adjacent to the A, so we define as a 0. So directed graph in define as A to B, so we define A to B as 1, and A to B to C are like A 1, like that. In weighted graph has the weighted 4.0, B and F has 4.0. So we define B and F F like 4. We put the 4 like that, and F and G has 12.0. So we define F and G has 12 like that. That is the adjacency matrix. So you can find GraphNets library in DeepMind. So in GitHub, DeepMind GraphNets that builds a GraphNet in the TensorFlow. That is a framework from the DeepMind. So it has well-defined documentations as well as that's GraphNet defined as a TensorFlow base. This is my reference, and also thank you.